Bismillah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Inshallah, we should be starting in a few seconds. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. All praises are due to Allah, our one and only God, our creator and cherisher and sustainer. And we ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of this halaqa to guide us and to give us the best of knowledge and to make this knowledge beneficial for us and to give us the best of intention and to give us the best of actions. Ameen. Tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we will be discussing together an important topic titled Outside the Box. Outside the Box. It's based on an article by Sheikh Al-Uda, and it's talking about the habit and how to think and behave, outside the box, trying to break the routine, trying to it's about the habits, good and bad habits, and how to always grow good habits and get rid of bad habits. Everything follows some rules, and everything has this kind of habit, if you wish. The stone will always, when you throw it up, even if you do it millions of times, it's not gonna never learn to go up by itself. It will always go down, even if you do it millions of times. The flame of the fire will be the opposite. Will always go up, and it will never go down. So it's kind of the philosophy of life. It's kind of the fitra, if you want, or the way things are created. That there is system for everything. There is a way for everything. There is a habit, if you wish, for everything. Sometimes habit makes it easy for us to do things. Because once you gain the habit, once you grow the skill of something, it becomes like a habit, and you do it. It becomes like it's so easy for you. So when you learn typing in the beginning, it's like you search for each letter. Then in a while, it becomes like a habit. You do it without even thinking about it, and you go fast, and so on. We have to always learn how to adapt, how to fit in, because life is full of events. A lot of things will happen to us. We are here to be tested. We have to adapt to things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ. It is Him who created death and life, so He will test you. Allah will test us. The test will be different. You know, He will test us with things that are different, good or bad. So we have to learn how to control ourselves. Bismillah. So back again. I hope I hope it's broadcasting now. Is it on? I hope it is on now, child. Okay. No? Okay. Bismillah. Okay. So we are talking about outside the box, and we said that we live by a group of habits that we learn and we grow. Everything in our life almost is a habit. Some habits are good and we need to acquire and we need to gain, like all of the good things, like learning how to control yourself, learning how to suppress your anger, learning how to solidarity with others, love of goodness, being generous, being good to others. If those things are not as excellent, you can always grow the habit of gaining those things. It's also a way to preserve the legacy. the legacy of the family system, for example, the family values. These, so many things are, we get them from the previous generation. Part of the deen in general, we take it from many parts of it, we inherited it from the previous generation who got it from the previous one all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. And people imitate or tend to imitate the parents, for example, or take what they found them doing. Part of it is good, but not everything should be taken without checking them. How to gain a new skill, for example, how to learn accuracy of anything, how to achieve something fast, all of that will need to grow certain habit, to learn, how to drive a car or to swim or to do anything. You are learning how to grow certain habit to do something. The problem of habits is that it kills the spirit of creativity. Once you learn something and it becomes, you do it without even thinking, you are not as creative. Achievement is better, but the creativity is not there as it used to be when you were finding out your way, when you were discovering, when you were learning. This is the human nature. We tend to avoid what's difficult, and we tend to get the easy thing. And that's the barrier in the way of creativity and progress and so on. So you see us in the beginning, in the first part of our life, we do a lot by working in schools and gaining the degrees and getting a lot of knowledge and stuff. But then once we reach to a certain level, usually we get into this box of whatever we achieved, and we stay there. We do not want to change anymore. Usually people get to the level of not willing to gain more knowledge, not willing to develop more skills, not willing to change. The first part of life, when we are in school, we grow a lot of habits, we learn a lot of things, we are more critical or criticizing, if you want, checking everything, looking forward. This is the good part of it. Looking at the history, we know how much difficult is it or challenging is to think outside the box. You see Kubernetes, for example, he was set into fire. He was put into fire just because he brought a new idea. One of the scientists, he brought this idea that he was thinking that Earth is the center of the universe, and he was killed by being cast into fire because of that. Galileo, for example, he was threatened of death, and he was put into this confinement of his house, almost a prison, just because he thought, or he started thinking or propagating the idea that Earth is round. So everything in the beginning is hard. To think outside the box is hard. And when the physician, the person who discovered this blood circle or cycle in the body, for 40 years he was trying to prove it, and everybody around him was, calling him names. They were refusing this idea. So everything in the beginning is hard. It takes a lot of effort to break any habit or to think outside the box. If Einstein, for example, did not think outside the box, did not, was not creative enough, we would never think of his theory. Columbus, if he was not thinking outside the box, probably people would not discover America. Many people, who are pioneers, who lead, they do that just because they manage to think outside the box, to take a different step forward. On the social level, you see so many of those, some of the social ideas, especially the old ones, they stand as barrier in the way of improvement. You see, that's why we see the clash of generations, different generation. The previous generation, they go by certain taboos, they go by certain ideas and thoughts, and it becomes as a package that the new generation is is getting into problem if they go by anything other than this. That's why we see those differences. The previous generation is used to the habits, the set of habits, the set of customs that they got to, but the new generation is trying to grow his own habit or their own habit. Sometimes habit, we are just trying to reflect generally on the habit or on the custom, on the al-ma'loof, the things that you are used to. Sometimes they, as I said, they not only kill creativity, but sometimes they are they affect even the human values, like mercy, for example, like sympathy. The more you get used to blood, for example, talking about physicians, the less it is for you to be affected by that. The more we watch in the news and we see the killings and children being killed and even mutilated and this and that, it becomes a habit, and then it's not as it was when we first used to see or got to see those things. This is probably the tafsir, or the why the people who are used to certain jobs, even though they look like inhumane, they do it just like machines. So people who kill, if a person, the prisoners, the people who do hard things, and they are used to that, they do it without even thinking about it, just because of what? Because of the habit that they grow, because of an ilf. That's why Imam Ibn al-Qayyim was talking about al-ma'siyah, or the disobedience as a value, or as a thing in itself, is a problem. But more problematic is to get used to that, is to look at it is to have it as part of your life, to grow it as a habit. Because the ma'siyah itself, it can actually help you grow, like it did with Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam and Sayyidina Hawa. When they made the mistake, and then they learned from that mistake, and now they are moving forward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to be a prophet. After that, Allah made him the father of humanity and actually an example for humanity after that. But somebody, when we get down there and we are stuck down there, we are okay with being in the wrong direction, that is more problematic than being in the wrong direction. It's accepting or growing the habit of accepting being in the wrong direction. I remember the last week, for a few days, for a week, I took my family and we went somewhere. The first thing my wife did when we came home, she said, "Oh, my home, my house." I mean, it's the same house. When she was used to it, it becomes like normal. But then when we opened the door after a week, she missed it. So when you are used to something, you don't really appreciate it. When you kind of lose it, or not as used to it as you were, you appreciate it better than any other times. That's why it's good sometimes to change, to travel, to make a difference in your life. Otherwise, you will have this kind of stagnation. It is said in Arabic, لا يكون الفاسق شريرا بقوة الشر بل بعادة الشر. It is said that a person who does wrong, the fasiq, the wrongdoer, he is not getting there by the power of wrong. Actually, it's by the power of getting used to wrong. ويقال من شب على شيء شاب عليه. If somebody grows up doing something, they will definitely get older with this thing, because it is a habit. والعادة تميت القلب. The habit gradually takes life off of the heart. When you grow some kind of habit, you become more like a machine. You become like do something mechanically rather than creatively, or like enjoying it or something. It also develops this kind of imprisonment, if you wish, or you become occupied. You become not free to do what you should do freely, because you are within the boundaries of the habit, what you know, what everybody around you is doing it. One of the philosophers said, خير عادة ألا تعتاد شيئا. The best of habits is that you do not grow any habit. You don't get used to anything. The best thing that you should get used to is not to get used to anything. وكان يقول كلما زادت العادات عند الإنسان أصبح أقل حرية واستقلالية. The more you grow of habits, the less free and independent you are. والعادة كما يقولون جمود. Habits is stagnation. But on the other hand, as we said, it could be positive, it could be negative. Most of the time it is negative, but it could be also positive if we do it, if we grow it the right way, if we watch it. It's actually one of the necessities of life. We grow the habit of eating. It's a necessity for us, and it's also a habit that we do it every day. But when it becomes like an addiction for something that's bad, obviously that is a bad habit. It could be, as we said, it could be like a ladder towards success. Like if you grow the habit of reading, for example, you grow the habit of loving goodness, and it becomes as habit, as part of your life, that you love it, that you're used to it. That will definitely take you forward. If you grow the habit of al-ibadat, all the ibadat, those are, but you do them with some sense of refreshing or renewal, if you want. But they are, at the end, they are habitual thing that we do every day, al-ibadat. If you grow the habit of smiling, when you talk, when you see people, that is one of the, or those are some of the good habits. If you grow the habit of always watching yourself, being critical to yourself, even changing or keeping changing, and not to stick to any habit, that in itself is a habit, but it is a good habit. Learning, education, and pursuing knowledge, that is a good habit. Being able to get rid of any negative thing in your life, to look at the positive things of anything around you at any stage of your life, old or young or anything, that is a good habit. On the other hand, some people have the habit of refusal of anything new. You refuse anything that's different, you refuse anything that's new. That is another habit, but it is not a good habit, obviously. So habit, if we can say, is a tool of life, one of the tools of life, and it could be a tool of death as well. So it's a tool of life or death. Because somebody, when they grow the habit of whatever, it's an addiction. It's a tool of death. And they know it is taking them this direction, but because they become so much imprisoned into their habits, they cannot get rid of them. In this case, if it's a bad one, they will be killing them. It's a tool of death. Could be a tool of life, as if we check it, if we make sure that we are going the right direction. Ibn al-Qayyim سمى العادة, or getting used to something, سماها طاغوت. He called it a طاغوت. طاغوت is something that's worshipped other than Allah. And you don't know how many questions and how many complaints I get on my email, for example, talking about marriage. I got an email today, wallahi. I don't even know the sender. Of the different cultures. Somebody from a certain culture, from the name he looks American, and I guess he is interested in getting married to a girl from a completely different culture, and he is getting through so many troubles. He loves the girl, and obviously the girl loved him, but the family, no, they are just like, no, you cannot get married to him, just because he is different. He is different. We are not against going by certain habits or certain cultures or something, but we should understand it and put it in the right context. Yes, you keep your culture, and you expect others to respect those, the way you eat, the way you dress, the way you think, the way you live, the style, everything. But should it be to that level? Should you take it to that level that it should? He was talking about threatening of death and some critical things, families are threatening or something, that some kind of crazy things will be done if they did not stop thinking to go this direction, which is to get married. When it gets to that level, I guess that is the taghut that Imam Ibn al-Qayyim is talking about. This is the God, the false God that's taken other than Allah. And subhanAllah, we could relate to the so many ayat when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is criticizing Quraysh, the people of Mecca, and other peoples. Actually, it's not only the people of Mecca. So many prophets, when there are so many people of prophets or tribes, when their prophets come to them and they are calling them, obviously they are calling them for something different. The prophets, in certain ways, they are reformists. So their tribes or people that are telling them, no, ما وجدنا عليه آباءنا. That's, we are not gonna never change what we found our parents and forefathers do. We're not gonna change that. That was a main argument almost in all, or many of the people of the prophets. Prophets coming from God, they know, all of them, all the people of all the prophets, they knew those, I mean, they established their credentials with them, their credibility with them. They know that these are good people. They know the Prophet ﷺ is a Sadiq, al-Amin, and they would not find anybody to trust but him, even though after they denied him, they still trusting him. But they are taking a God, they are imprisoned within the boundaries of their habits, that they don't want to follow their minds, they don't want even to follow their natural, normal instincts, because they still trust him instinctively, and they trust him. They know he is good. They call him a Sadiq al-Amin, but they don't want to break this or shatter this imprisonment of habit. So you see how it can get to be a taghut, as Ibn al-Qayyim is describing it. It will cause stagnation in life. It will undermine any kind of initiatives from people, from individuals. When everybody is going with the flow, when everybody is doing the same thing. So a person would become no more than a slave. No more than a slave if you just are used to that, good or bad, not willing to change. How many times Allah is talking about change? إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ. Allah would not change the condition of people until they change. They started the change. So we have to always train ourselves to not to be slaves only for Allah, and this is the ultimate freedom from anything. When we are slaves to Allah, true servants of Allah, we will be ultimately free from anything else, from ourselves, from our so many circles that are trying to imprison us, to enslave us. In this context, you see the stereotypes. What are the stereotypes? Stereotypes are certain people are making judgments on certain ideas or certain groups or something, and you take them as is, and you tend to go within this circle. So many examples, you see them in the social life of us nowadays. Even, subhanAllah, in the way we understand Islam, yani in the way we look at the religion. Yani everybody looks at the religion from the scope of the subcontinent, the scope of the Saudi Arabia, the Arab scope. And our religion is so much flexible and so much universal and so much comprehensive that we need to be free so we can understand it. We need to be free from anything. Yes, that's not to reject any ijtihad or any steps that are taken in the fiqh, or in actually we are not going to go nowhere without those preliminary things to be able to understand Arabic, able to understand ahkam and so on, but not to the level of that is what you are allowed to think within. I mean, we have to renew, we have to refresh, so we will be able to get the best out of our religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, وَاتَّبِعُوا أَحْسَنَ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Follow the best of what has been revealed to you from your Lord. That doesn't say being picky and we choose and we leave. No, because our religion, especially in the ahkam, is so much dynamic. Certain things would work for certain countries or contexts or times or people that would not work for others. So here comes this kind of break in the al-ma'loof, or the thinking outside the box to get the best out of this religion, because that's what it is coming for. It's coming to give us the best. We have to differentiate between habits that we judge and habits that they judge us. So the habits that we control, that we grow, that we decide to get, like habit of gaining knowledge, of reading, of smiling, of loving goodness, of anything, learning anything, and growing any good habit, those are definitely good. But the habits that kind of sneak into our life and they are bad, and they get to the level of judging us or controlling us, those are the ones that we need to seek freedom from. Some other habits actually are not that essential or effective in our life. They are neutral. We're not going to talk about those anyway. So all the habits are like weapons that we can, or tools, as I said earlier, that we can use in the different situations to face the different challenges, the different difficulties, the different circumstances around us. We can always grow our own special habits. We can always customize those habits so we look better at the world around us. When we control those habits, when we are in charge of those habits, when we use them as we need for the right way that we decide it is right, then it is good. But when those habits control us and they lead us to say certain things that rationally we don't want to say, to do certain things, to follow certain people, to follow certain ways that when we think for ourselves we would regret doing that, then this is the despotism, if you want, of habits, or imprisonment of habits. Let me, get. What do you think? Let me see. What do you think about this topic? Thinking outside the box. It's kind of risky because it might be misunderstood as rejecting anything that's coming to us and starting everything from the scratch. Or, as I explained, it could be weapon or tool that could be used in so many ways. But we need to really start thinking about the habits, the set of habits in our life, the set of the packages that we go by in our lives. So we make the difference. You want to make a difference of anything, usually you will start by making the difference in the way you think, and then in the way you pursue that, which is changing the habit, one of your habits, to get to what you are looking at. Any ideas?
A lot to say about intellectual stagnation.
Intellectual stagnation in Panama City?
Yeah.
Why do you always keep saying that? That is a bad habit that you need to change. You need to conquer this thing by making the change, by starting the change. And I think you are doing this now, or you are following on the steps of Sister Farida by bringing some refreshments or some coffee or tea, which is changing the habit of not having anything. Only girls? I'll take some, inshallah. Try to imagine that we work on growing little things, little habits that we know they are good. Like the habit of serving others, smiling for others. If we grow those things, that they will become part of our life, I think that those will be our way to Jannah. This will be our way to Al-Jannah. Not only the action that we do one time, because we, as humans, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ, we tend to rush for everything. Yes, I can do a big thing, a very big thing one time, and I'm done. But what are the hadith and the ayat? The hadith For example, أحب العمل إلى الله أدومه. The most beloved action to Allah is what? Is the most continuous, even though it is little. وإن قل, even though it's little. So Allah wants us to develop a system. When you develop a system, when you grow a habit, what does it take? It takes a lot of effort, especially in the beginning. As we said, I remember, and everybody knows, when we first learned how to type, I had pain in all my fingers. In all my fingers, it's like, you know, where's the I, where's the H? But now you do it without even thinking. Without thinking. So that effort to grow good habits, I think, is the fuel to Jannah, or is the credit that you take for Al Jannah. Because when you go, yani prayer, for example, yani only Hajj that I can think of is going to happen once in the lifetime. One of the furud al-Islam, yani. But then the Sawm every year, fasting every year, praying, it's every day. Everything is going to be, you know, continuous, that you have to do continuously. Anything, Silatul Rahim, it's not just once that you be good to your family or blood, you know, relationship. No, it has to be a continuous thing. Continue to be good to your parents. Continue to be good to people around you. So everything that's usually good will be habit, you know, as something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to be as like part of our life. And in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was his habit. كان, as Sayyidah Aisha mentioned, كان إذا عمل عملا أثبته. When he does something, he would stick to it. When he starts something, doing something good, he would stick to it. So he would hate, for example, like if he misses the i'tikaf 1 year, he misses the i'tikaf in Ramadan. He used to do it every year, the last 10 nights in Ramadan. But he misses it one time. He was traveling or something happened. Ramadan is gone, but he hates, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to break this good habit. So he made i'tikaf in Shawwal, even though usually it's not. Shawwal is you can always make i'tikaf at any other time, but he hates to miss this good ibadah. He also shara' lana, he also you know, gave us this direction. If the person who used to read something at night, some Quran or do some salah, and then he misses that for any reason, you can always make up for that during the day, making up for it. So you will not break the good cycle of goodness. You will not break this good thing that you get used to. My point is, if we started growing one little habit, or getting rid, as I said before, of one bad habit, فَلَوْ كَظَمْنَا الْغَيْض, if we started suppressing the anger, if we started learning how to smile, if we started adding to our knowledge, making it a habit to read, for example, or to add to our Islamic knowledge or anything else, if we started, what else? Anything good for us in our life. If we started dreaming as we used to dream when we were younger, you know, children, for example, or youth, they had a lot of dreams, good and bad, but they dream, they think for the future. Nowadays, or when you get to a certain level, khalas, no more dreams, stagnation in life. Always you look back more than you look forward. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would be always giving us those directions. He will talk about the Sham. When you conquer Sham, what's going to be there? Egypt. He's talking even about events like Constantinople, when it's conquered. That's going to be years later. He is talking about the future. He is giving people direction about the Dajjal or something. I mean, he is kind of not only predicting the future, but teaching us how to dream, how to look forward. Not just to be like, if his view is to have some Muslims and have some kind of a state somehow in Medina, that's it. He got it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he become so strong and he becomes so respected politically. He got the authority, the power, and the prophethood and everything, and that's it. But no, he would go even further. He would send messages to people around him. Obviously, that was a mission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the mission, the life of the Prophet ﷺ and all of its dimensions is uswa, is a guideline for us, is a role model for us. Why would he talk about those things down in the future? unless he is teaching us to dream and to always never lose hope and to think forward and look forward for things. اتفضلي.
Most of the girls know that I don't like feelings. So that's most of the girls know that I do not like them. Actually, one of the reasons I fight always, well, one is I don't feel like it's very comfortable to stimulate in any way. And that really bothers me for me, for the kids, things like that. That I feel like there are certain places in the world that offer more, it's easy to build bad habits because there aren't very many alternatives to life. Basically have very mundane, very routine kind of lifestyle. And for many people, it's really hard to get out of that. Not everybody has the opportunity to leave when I'm here. I didn't have the opportunity to leave yet. But I just feel like, after what you're talking about building habits and building habits, sometimes the society, if you're not a very self-motivated, driven person, then the society that you live in, like when I was a kid, like kind of example, and I am generalizing, there are exceptions, but the society that's been so driven by habit and routine, the lifestyle has completely changed within the last decade or more. And the expectations of life, the system of life, it's become a very new standard of habit. That makes sense. And so the result is, in fact, I think the result is affected like the adults, like my generation or older, in terms of the way they live their lifestyle, just kind of nothing really exciting, nothing really motivates them. You do something, in the messages or outside, it's just kind of like wow. And then the kids, that's influenced many of the children. They also have very kind of attitude about life that's very boring. I don't know. But here, honestly, what I'm missing in see is a lot of, for example, let's talk on a woman's level. Like, how many times do women get together and talk about anything that people went I mean, women only. When do women get together alone and talk about anything that's productive? Besides, unless production is like sharing recipes and then sometimes talking about parenting stuff. In terms of planning your economic committee, sometimes begrudgingly, sometimes motivated, or there's nothing going on and there's nothing that really stimulates you passionately. I am generalizing, I agree with that. I'm making a general thing. What I see to be the majority of people. So that's one aspect. There are many, I have a long way to go.
I think she's trying to do what she's doing now, or she is enjoying what she's doing now. Stirring some kind of discussion, if you wish. I mean, challenging and stuff, which is good. I mean, I present or put it in a better way, introducing some new ideas, discussing new ideas, which is good. But my take on that is why don't we do one? We make one. Why don't we lead towards this?
There is a reason, but I feel like that is so boring. You mean in terms of outside? I find that we do a lot of kids can be is one of the community because it doesn't have to just do it. Yeah. Right. Well, no, give me an example. I don't really find a lot of things besides mainly entertainment or specifically the features that each one is like. So what am I? So I'm reading yeah, intellectual based meetings, a woman who has something besides household. Anything like, for example, when we did the open house. This is different because, you usually don't have a big and so when we did the open house, as just an example, there was some kind of like movement.
You're talking about sharing Ramadan?
Sharing Ramadan, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Or anything that's kind of big like that, not even a lot of people are involved in that. I'm talking about the meeting. So we've been talking about doing work for a long time. And you finally, are starting to get involved, but it's just 1 year. I don't know if that's a weekend. No, for our. But this is just something, to challenge ourselves, someone has to start. I mean, someone has to start, exactly. And we need to like work on ourselves so we're not a community of like followers. Not always have to be followers. No, but what happens is that too many followers, there's too many followers and not enough weeks, then you get a situation burn out, tired, and then people who are following are not necessarily very motivated, so you sometimes come not respectful.
In our community, there's always some people that like to do or like to be used. And I've always, from any intellectual meeting to any, what do you call it, after the party, whatever, we should have a list of the community and go on the list and have everybody take turns. We can try that if it's
You can try that. I know it came to us when it came to AIDS, and we were the first group that then I don't know what happened after the AIDS. But I know that we got called to do like over and whatever, so you guys got to do this, we did it. I don't know what happened. What do you just example, maybe it's cleaning or.
There's always people that always clean after.
Yeah, and even those people always clean, they're a lot worse, but they always complain. Because they have a work. So, of course, they feel like they have to wind up cleaning the messages. So they're bitter about it. And this is what happens with like so many relationships, where somebody gives more and the other person gives them all the nobody's ever, unless you're really so.
Well, I can't.
I know, but yeah, but I mean, like, I'm thinking after a lot of certain standard number of people, because of my kids, otherwise I wouldn't mind, but yeah, that's anyway, I don't know. I think the problem is with there's not enough leaders, there's not enough people who care about anything that's not relevant to training. How many people have spoken about politics for years? How many people besides just listening, oh, what's happening, what's that? Okay, well, what do you think? I don't know, I have no idea. I don't know about this for the time. That's what I'm saying, no, this is what I'm saying. We don't have to have a meeting. There is a lack of self-motivated intellectuals here in Kansas City. In the Muslim community, with respect to the Muslim community as a high level of professionalism, but yeah, we're very focused and our families and our life. Not teachers is, well, I'm like I said, I'm general, some of us do sure, we don't teach our kids, have a purpose, we don't teach them to live, for us to have, do all of the, and it is all of these, but not just that, and there's another Muslim community. That's like another great source of I've got some like water. No, I don't want to work locally. We started so many things. There are so many things that I started and finished. I'm done starting. I'm really, I'd like for people to start things. And I don't want to follow me on what the hell brand.
Okay.
I can't always come to everything.
I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree with you to a certain level. But what you can think of as being flat and what did you say in the beginning?
Like stagnation.
Is intellectual stagnation. Other people can look at this as an advantage, and they can call it other better names, like peace, like quiet. Panama City is quiet, it's peaceful.
I mean that I look at people, synopsis here, and I just see, this is very judgmental, but people are judgmental. I just see like, that's what I see when I talk to a lot of people. Just take that like southern look, president. Now, of course, there's some people, there's some people, but like, there's normally when you walk outside, I'm not trying to come up. I'm talking about
He is 67. He runs around. He runs 40 miles a week. And then he says that every week he does a video for recently, what we just talked about is how he helped. And we started a whole thing where we would teach seniors for free in the churches, all the banks actually, these are the things that and that's one of my favorites.
I mean, that's great, but compare that to the recent level.
But that's why he's doing it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, people don't know.
It's coming,
Even here, even if I'm working, my sisters and I, we talk about this in general, we all try to get something following a certain kind of follow, like farmers and let's try to make things of it, So, but when you talk to people about that here, even that culture, it's just such a dormant mentality. When we lived here, when I grew up here, people still think and act almost the same. What can we add to this conversation?
Actually, that's not that's where the problem is coming from. Outside the right. I came here 10 years ago, the same thing. I came here we have to go to the board. Just okay, can we use the space to be fine? Can we use the space? Can we have a little that's fine. Even that, I would not. I came here, I started that. We would do things every month, and every week we would meet with the Muslim American. And once a month, we just said, here's the thing, problem happening is, people will be here forever. They be here, or and they be back. What are you doing? You don't know what you do. And, so we will help the savings, and we will keep them coming. So, okay, but then they like that. They didn't like it, but they didn't know. And it's not my job to tell them on the regular students and not coming to keep them. So, the next time, why do you call it? I will say this directly, I can't call you, call you email them here to go with you. So, and again, it's not something that we broken down for people who have lived here forever, we don't go forever, like the back qualification, it's going on, it's breaking down. It's an attitude that we pass on for generations to the kids, and it's normal. And it's like, okay, you were strong, and that's the way slowly, I go broken down. Yeah. Because it's like, I can't,
That's why I'm coming now. I feel like you guys know, a lot of anyway, move on to this year, but I keep thinking to myself, if I don't homeschool girls this year, at least I'm busy, keeping myself busy with like a very what I consider to be a very noble thing, following, doing my absolute best with them. And if I don't, then I'm going to do it, and I have to be more patient with things that I can do. But there's not much like positive results here unless you completely find your own. And if you're doing it in a group and you're doing it for that, or you're going to get burnout or maybe put down. You're sitting on someone's toes. You could have sitting on someone's toes. Nobody's sitting on anyone's toes. You can't do it. You're trying to do something. You're not getting. I never really felt that, but I understand that you might. Because I was in your program, the blues is what do they want? They don't see it. They're trying to yeah, she.
Now, if you're comparing, like, I'm not sure if that's your ideal, being in a big city like Los Angeles or New York or something, or any city that you will have a lot of activities and a lot of dynamic kind of lifestyle. I look at it this way: what can you do there that you cannot do here? And is it?
Let me tell you, so many issues. First of all, in terms of being outdoors, it's not in terms of activities being outdoors. First, now I'm just a little bit complaining, but here the weather is really hot, but the weather's hot kind of everywhere, long here. But here, the outdoor activity is the beach. I have 4 kids, 2 boys. I'm not interested in raising the kids to have their eye comfortable to the use at the beach. So that eliminates the beach meat. When we were growing up, I don't know if any of you guys did this, but when we were growing up, we never, ever went to animals to the beach. I don't think I went to animals until I was 8, until I was a teenager. We always drove all the way out to Mexico Beach because it was empty. But you know what I think? No, the beach would work how to go back. No, I don't think I was even then. It's not really as crowded. Yeah, it wasn't as crowded, but it was certainly like not at design. So here, our parents used to drive us all the way out to our places. Even then, we did go away to kind of the beach where we had other people. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it is. But and our parents were, my dad was still going on the weekend and everybody else. Yes, I did the beach. I did the beach all the time.
But that's going to be in any beach, wherever you go,
right.
Unless you.
So number one, I would like to look for places without an alternate form of nature that I can. No, that's okay.
There are rivers, there are lakes, there are forests around us. There are even caves. I mean, as far as outdoors, if this is what you're talking about, there are rivers, not only one river, creeks, caves, springs. I mean, so many other things.
It's not like you go to the cave, go where it happens, for example, you go once. How many times are you doing this? I mean, unless you have someone who's passionate about things like, just spending time outdoors, just, hiking, camping, things like that, where well,
something I always think about is people asking how to realize their knowledge and their access to everything is so much more limited than us.
yeah.
So if you look at the lifestyle, how do we see all of that really good. No, I'm not complaining. I don't know. I think we can help wherever they check in for you.
I agree.
I moved to Turkey and I realized so far, I mean, all the time I just got used to these habits.
Yeah, you're right.
Like a quick look at the locations of the graves of the companions of the Prophet, at least the famous names, who we know for sure they are Meccan residents or Medina residents. They born and grown in Mecca or Medina, but you see them, a lot of them, in Egypt, in Syria, in Palestine, and some even in far away, all the way to India and other places. So I read this as kind of adaptation, and again, definitely they were on a mission, but for them, it was not just a mission. They didn't go to conquer these places and go back to their comfort zone, because their lifestyle was kind of desert people, which is kind of completely different from the Egypt or Sham, Syria. But they managed to live and die, even to death in Syria. Yes.
But they had a purpose. Like, if I was in Panama City and I had a greater purpose, and they were living with sometimes they had, they had a huge mission that they understood and embraced. Yeah, but so do we, but there isn't this like group of people that's all going to be working. I mean, I haven't found that here. Since we were born up, now there isn't that, and that's what I feel. This whole, the talk that you were discussing about habit forming and stagnation, I'm calling it intellectual stagnation, even though I recognize it's really rude. But in general, just lifestyle, people having advanced. Non-Muslims, Muslims, same stairs. When you live, I lived in London, Israel, Chicago, Atlanta, all of these cities, there's so much more.
I do agree with you that there's a lot more in America.
But doesn't this make Panama City, the way you describe it, an ideal environment for da'wah, for reform?
Maybe
Ask
the people. Like, I used to work in Dallas very, very, very heavily at the university. From everything from Dallas tables to questionnaires to, even when I was in London, I worked for an human rights organization. That my specific role was interviewing people for books about British Muslims in the government, that was submitted to the government. It was a very big job, so I have a lot of exposure in that regard. Nobody, I don't know, very few people that I know personally, that I have met, have converted because somebody was doing that. Believe it or not, the majority of Muslims that I know who converted are through not even a friend. Usually, I don't have good percentages, but a lot of times it's a guy through a girl or a girl through a guy, and often stemming from private un-Islamic places. So, like the last person I met who converted in Pensacola, converted because of her friend that they used to go public.
But I guess that's the percentage. When you get to go to a big city, the percentage of those who will come because of da'wah will be bigger. Even the percentage of those who come to Islam because of some kind of relationship is going to be bigger than here.
Don't you think it's sad that with our community of very solid Muslims who are generally more conservative than other places, we don't have a good da'wah, system in place where we're all living, and Sister Mina and Sister Rizda, and Sister Sarita, I think we're Sister because, we're trying to have these efforts that I don't know what happened.
The problem for me would be not to have those activities. I agree, in this part I agree that it's a problem not to have those. But the bigger problem for me will be if you are trying to start one, but you are not allowed to, or it's not working, or you are not. It's not possible to start one. But the environment is ready. It's a small city at the end, but I see it. And when we go talking about youth, for example, when we go to MIST, I was impressed myself to see that the Tampa community were coming, and they were kind of looking up at us. Like in terms of the number of youth who are coming, it's almost the same number like the people who are coming from Tampa and other places. In terms of the participation in various activities, it's just like we won, I think, one time. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I joined them, this time we always like the first or the second, which is like Panama City, if you compare it to Tampa.
But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Maybe it's more compare. Panama City has, Tampa, and I live in Tampa, Tampa, there's so many non-professional parents who really are culturally concerned. And here we have much more, like some Muslim community, really.
So here you go. That is a positive thing.
That's a positive thing, but what about the action?
Yeah, what are we doing with it? That's a different thing.
We're
We do things. There's no. We do things. We have to look positively at what's going on. There are things that are going on, not up to the expectation, or there is a room for more or for bigger. Yes, I agree with that. Can it be done? Yes. And I always tell you, if I have a few people like yourself and Sister Farida and some other people who always you can count on, it will make a big of a difference. But the activities are there. Dawah activities are there. One example you just mentioned is sharing Ramadan, even though it's once a year, but it's a very successful program. It makes it to the media, everybody. Just after sharing Ramadan, many more than one person, they met me. They say, "Yeah, we saw you in the news. We know who you are." So it's there. It's not like not present. It's there. It was successful. You were part of it. You were part of it. Okay, for the viewers, we will stop here, inshallah, and continue next time, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, everybody who was watching us. Assalamu alaikum.